Hey guys, welcome to another Homelab series. In this video, we're going to actually be talking and installing Uptime Kuma. So you know how we have like so many services and other servers that we've created. Now it's time to kind of figure out, hey, how do I make sure that my service is actually running? So Uptime Kuma actually is a very nice GitHub project that people have created so that you can essentially just kind of like, hey, is this service even up, by just going to the web page, making sure the status code is correct, and coming back as green or red or pending or whatever, however Kuma actually sets it up. But you essentially can kind of see, hey, each request, did it actually go through or not? So you can see if your service is actually up or not. So we'll be doing that in this video. This video is also sponsored by me, myself, and I. So if you enjoy the content or want to sponsor me, send me some free hardware swag. My email is in the description below, so check it out. Awesome. Let's get started, guys. Okay, so we have our server, which we will log into. SSH 127. We'll go through, install Docker. This is another one that you can that they have a Docker container repository for, so that is also a nice thing. Install Docker CE. So while that installs, let's update DNS, web IDE, and then 74, and then Kuma. 192.168.127, and we will commit that. Okay, so now that's good. Uptime Kuma. So essentially, there's actually not much to this. Essentially, it's just a Docker command. We're going to pretty much just use this, run it, and it should just work. And then I'll show you how you can essentially use it to actually monitor your own stuff, or if you want to, or if you have like public services that you want to monitor, this is also a great way because you can monitor both your internal and your like public websites too. And you can actually create multiple of these endpoints, and like if you were using cloud services, you could create multiple of these endpoints in different regions and actually test your uptime between each region and how it actually compares to other regions, which is also very nice. Okay, so that is still installing. Give it a few more seconds here. But it's just Docker poll, nothing too fancy. We'll just use the latest tag, so we will use that. Okay, so now that that's done, we'll copy that. And by copy that, we'll copy it again. oh yeah. Enable Docker and start Docker. Okay, and then we'll edit a few things. So one is latest, so that's fine. We'll make sure this volume is off of where we currently are running, and looks like it's using port 3001. So we can run that. It'll pull the image, and extracting, pulling, and almost there. All right, so now we can see here that it is up, healthy currently, and health starting. Give it a few seconds and it should be finished. But we can also go here, http dragon.local, and then 3001. Essentially, you can select your language, multiple different languages. You can create your admin user here. So we'll create our admin user. So this is kind of just the default page. Doesn't look too bad. Actually looks pretty nice compared to a lot of monitoring solutions that I've seen that are kind of self-hosted. So the first thing we'll actually do here is, let's see, appearance, doc. Get the doc theme going. But then we'll add a monitor, right? So there's a ton of different types of monitoring types here. This is nice that you can monitor databases stuff. In this case, we're just going to go with plain HTTPS or HTTP, depending on what our service is running, just to show you here. But we might make separate videos on how to do other specific monitoring types and what all that entails. So in this case, we're just going to do HTTPS, and we'll do like GitLab, our GitLab instance, right? We could create monitoring groups for like Homelab or like different things, but we won't do anything of that sort. So we'll do gitlab.dragon.local. And you can see that we actually have gitlab.dragon.local. It should be able to resolve. We'll leave everything else as default, but you can also do different methods to make sure a certain method works. There is notifications. We will probably do that in a separate video also. This is just more of getting started here. We will ignore TLS and SSL errors, mainly because since we used our step CA server to create this cert, it won't actually see it being a valid cert in here because of it being a self-signed cert that we created as opposed to a public one. So if you're using like an actual like public website, you don't have to check this, but in this case we will check this. And then you can just leave everything else as default unless you want to do authentication. I think we'll probably do a separate video on that. But you can also like alert on certificate expiry notification. This is very important actually. And this is a good one to actually check, because if your cert expires, people will get into that SSL error for like an actual public website. So checking this is also a good idea to just make sure, hey, if a cert's going to expire, I should probably be aware of it as opposed to just letting it expire. So then we'll save this. So it's successfully added. You can see that the first ping was up, the first hit on the server, so it looks pretty good. And by default, it would check it every 60 seconds. So like if we would go back here, you can see that the heartbeat check info is check every 60 seconds here. You can obviously change this to be higher or lower. 60 seconds is probably a pretty alright thing. I wouldn't do like 1 second. That is just way too much. But I would say 60 seconds is pretty reasonable, because that means, hey, your site was down for a minute, right? In that period. It could have been down up to a minute. The other thing is like, and I'll show you this, is you can also do like public ones, not just things in your home lab. So like we could do like Google, for example, www.google.com, and we won't ignore, because this will actually work because Google has an actual correct set. So you can see how Google also hit perfectly fine. We can see from our server trying to hit Google, it works, right? This is like a good check in regards to like, oh hey, like Google, can my server get out to the internet? And you can see that it actually gives you a lot of things. So like response time is how the response that getting to Google from our server and back, that's about that time. And then it also gives you like the cert expiration time, and it gives you like overall average and uptime averages total. So you can see that Google's cert is going to expire in 64 days. So they should probably, hopefully, get a new cert. And usually it's about like 30 days. That's like the 30-day mark is when like about between the last 30 days is when usually people update their certs. So the nice thing also about this is you can actually just pause. So you can hit pause and it will stop the check, but you can still keep the history of what it looks like. So in this case, you can see how our response times, currently there's a few response times every second, and it's averaging about like 300 milliseconds, which isn't too bad, but kind of high actually. But we'll add one more monitor right now, and we'll do our Nextcloud service, for example. HTTPS nextcloud.dragon.local, and we're going to do heartbeat interval check for every 10 seconds. And I just want to show you in regards to what happens when, I guess 20 seconds is the lowest. What happens when something does go down, right? So right now you have Nextcloud. You can see it hits 70 milliseconds per second, which isn't bad. So let's log out here. We're at nextcloud.dragon.local. So if we were to just go to nextcloud.dragon.local, we could hit it, right? So it's essentially just doing that. So here you can see how it is gonna check every 20 seconds. So this was at 13:42:27. This was at 13:42:07. So in the next 20 seconds, it should appear for the next iteration. So you can see each bar essentially shows number of iterations. So pretty good, 63 milliseconds. So we can stop Nginx, which is what is running the HTTPS part of it, Nginx. And now we can see that this won't load. It'll actually time out on our page, right? So the connection error refused. So you can see now it's pending. And we can see on here that you get this whole yellow block of, hey, I'm not sure if it's actually up right now. We'll give it a few more checks, and then it should show as down. This is why I want 10 seconds. Yeah. So essentially, it failed 2 checks, and now it's down. So you can see here is timeout in this case, where it's 8 seconds. If it took longer than 8 seconds, and usually in most cases, I'll be honest, if something takes longer than 8 seconds for a web page to load, it probably isn't going to load, and yeah. And then number of retries, so you can also say, hey, I want number of retries to be like 5, so it would essentially 100 seconds before it actually counts as a full down, right? But in this case, there was 1 retry, so pending of, hey, it looks like it's down, but it might not be down. I mean, it could just be a flake, so it retried again, and then it got the same error, so it's down. So now you can see in here that the status is down. And you can see in the dashboard, it is down now because error connection refused. It actually even gives you kind of a message on what it could be. And if we did have notifications set up, which I really want to set up notifications on this, but I'll create a separate video on it because I'm going to have to do some API webhook stuff with our Mattermost server that we created. And if you guys don't know what that is, feel free to go check out my Mattermost server. It's a very nice kind of team collaboration, kind of Slack-like workspace. So, and then we can start Nginx back up, and then we should be able to see that it has officially come back up when it checks again. There's this dashboard, which is more of just an overall view of what's up, what's down, what's paused, anything in maintenance, and unknown stuff. So you can see how there's timestamps here. So you can see we added this here, we added this here, everything was okay. We see that Nextcloud actually reported as down right here. And then now the last check, and you can see pop-ups here, that it came back up here at 145 here, essentially. And it went down at 143. So, and then you got like your average of, hey, Nextcloud was, 40% up in the last whatever the amount of time it is. So there you go, guys. That is how you get set up with Uptime Kuma. Very nice tool to kind of just get a big overview of your home lab or any public services that you are running. So if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, comment, or subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.